presentation? Okay, great. Thanks very much. And can you actually see the presentation and not the?
No, we're seeing your slides.
We're seeing
Yeah, we
my
see your full desktop.
Oh, okay. Just I'll tell you what. I'm just going to go. Is that better? Can people see the slides?
So it seems good.
Yeah. Okay. I'll minimize that and do that. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for attending our webinar. I'm going to just give you, as Rose suggested, an overview of the graduate program in psychological sciences, what you can expect from the program, and the kinds of things that you'd expect to do if you were admitted to the program and you were studying towards your PhD in psychology, one of our specific areas. So as you can see, here's a vista of University of California, Merced. It's an impressive campus, brand new campus. The university is the first research university to be incepted within the United States in the last 50 years. The goal was to bring quality University of California standard education to this region, which is the Central Valley of California. So we have a beautiful purpose-built campus, and most recently we doubled the size of the campus through the delivery of the 2020 project. So our mission in the Psychological Sciences Department and in the graduate program in psychology is to develop opportunities to develop your expertise in psychological research methods and particularly expertise in your chosen area of focus, which I'll get onto in a moment. And the idea is to provide you with the skills and experience to become an elite independent researcher, which allows you to be competitive in jobs, both in the academic realm, but also in industry, where research is a central component, and psychology and all of its subdisciplines is a central element. So as I mentioned, we're talking about expertise in particular areas. So the psychology graduate program here at UC Merced focuses on three core areas: health psychology, developmental psychology, and quantitative psychology and research methods. So we have developed a research mentorship model when it comes to our graduate program. You will identify an advisor for your graduate studies, and you will work most closely with that advisor, but also with other faculty. And that you will engage in a dedicated, focused program of research throughout the course of your studies, and you'll develop research as part of the program within your advisors and your own area of expertise. And there's an expectation that there'll be synergy between your interests and those of your advisor. So it's important to identify a potential advisor whose interest corresponds with yours. And you'll be advised in the program, both in terms of that research development, as well as mentorship towards professional development, your professional development, more broadly speaking, within the area of psychological sciences that you've selected. And typically that's also done in conjunction with your faculty advisory committee, which ultimately becomes your PhD dissertation committee usually. And those are two additional faculty from psychological sciences who will also help mentor you toward the goal of becoming a researcher in psychology. So here's the kind of broad overview of what the program looks like, the nuts and bolts, if you like, of our program. So you'll be required to complete 12 topic courses, which amounts to 48 units of coursework. There are 5 core courses which focus on professional development and also on research methods and statistical analyses. Then you will also engage in 7 further elective courses, which are expected to be in your focus, your area of focus. Again, developmental health or quantitative psychology. We'll also conduct research in parallel to this coursework from day one within the program. And you'll work very closely with your mentor. And this is one of the key aspects of our program. We have a very close relationship between the faculty and our advisees. We provide very much hands-on and focused mentorship within the research component of the program. And our program is organized into a series of completing a series of milestones. So the milestones comprise your first year where you'll get initial experience with research. And then within 2 years of starting the program, you're expected to complete an original piece of research, which forms your pre-candidacy thesis. If you choose to do so, you can also defend at that stage for a master's degree in psychology. In addition to that, you'll then complete a number of research activities, which ultimately leads you to advance to be a candidate for your PhD. And the candidacy requirements vary across disciplines, but they usually amount to an exam, which often comprises a meeting with your advisor and your faculty advisory committee, and some focused tasks related to research and core skills within your area. And you're also required to produce a portfolio which reflects some service and contributions to research within your area. For example, publishing a research article, we're very keen on that, alongside, for example, completing reviews for journals, presenting your work at conferences, presenting a teaching portfolio, and so on. Once you advance to candidacy, you'll then propose and ultimately defend your dissertation, your PhD dissertation, which is a larger focused piece of research in your dedicated area. Once you've completed the milestones and alongside the taught components of your PhD program, we aim you will graduate with your PhD within approximately 5 years. That's the median time to completion. Each student admitted to the program receives financial support. Every student in the psychological sciences program has been funded every year up to 6 years within the program. The sources of funding include working as a teaching assistant. Well, that's important if you want to go on to an academic career because it develops those teaching skills and helps support the undergraduate program here. In addition to that, you may also engage in research. And so, for example, if your advisor has a research grant, they may offer you a graduate student assistantship, researcher assistantship, which may replace the teaching assistantship. And then you may also gain some fellowships. There's fairly good fellowship programs here at UC Merced, which you can apply for in advance or during your studies. Most students at some stage will engage in teaching assistantship to fund their studies. The pay is approximately $23,000 a year over the 9-month semesters and 9-month semesters. And that will cover your tuition and most fees with only $700 approximately of out-of-pocket expenses. We also offer fairly generous summer funding of around $3,000 to support your research over the summer. And we also offer conference travel support, as well as opportunities to attend professional development meetings, workshops, and so forth. You can find more details in that website. Incidentally, I'll circulate these slides at the end of the session. UC Merced is a very unique university. We have a very diverse population. 90% of the students on the campus are non-white, 73% are first-generation students, and 64% receive Pell Grants to support their tuition. And the research provides UC quality education with a focus on graduate education and research. So you're also coming at the most opportune time where the university is expanding and consolidating its position as one of the elite universities within the country. And you know, the Department of Psychological Sciences is rapidly growing in size and reputation. We only had 4 PhD students and 4 faculty when the first students were admitted to the program back in 2007. And now we have 47 PhD students and 22 faculty. In addition, you can see there that our national rankings, according to the US News rankings, university rankings, is constantly increasing. And so we're in the top 100 universities in terms of the psychological sciences program. What can you do with a PhD from UC Merced in psychological sciences? Well, you can go on to multiple types of position. Many of our students go on to research positions within the realm of academia and academic research. For example, students have gone on to tenure track research and teaching, or tenure track teaching focused positions, or postdoctoral research fellow positions at elite research universities. Our students have also gone on to many non-academic research positions, working in fields such as diverse organizations such as health departments, data analytic companies and corporations, Meta, Google, for example, and also in research institutes. So there are multiple employment opportunities, and our graduates do extremely well in obtaining these kinds of positions. If you want, as Jess mentioned, if you want fee waivers for your applications, please get in touch with us or with Jess, and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you very much. Let's save questions until the other presentations have been completed. But thank you very much for listening. I look forward to hearing your questions and responding.
Great, thank you, Martin. Sarah, do you want to go next?
I would love to. Okay, can you all see slides?
Yeah, looks good.
I am a faculty member, as I mentioned, in the quantitative area. And this is an area that focuses on building and sort of testing statistical tools that can be used in research. Regardless of if you go into the quantitative area or health or developmental, you will get training in statistics, which you can then use in your own research. Currently, we have 5 faculty in the quantitative area, and you can see them here. We have a wide range of expertise, structural equation modeling, mixture modeling, multi-level sample size planning, Bayesian statistics. Lots of different things are covered here. And really, my colleagues are true experts in the field and have really progressed the field quite a bit in their own research. We have a broad range of courses that we offer that are open to people in the quantitative area and also those in health and developmental. So I have just a few courses listed here so that you can get a sense for the type of curriculum that we have. Everybody would take these top 2. So you get advanced statistics training when you come into the program. And then from there, you can pick and choose what will best suit you with respect to the tools that you need to conduct your own research. The quantitative students end up taking most of these classes. We offer them on a routine basis. And so you end up leaving with a very broad range of skills in your tool set. Student research is an important part of our training here, and we work one-on-one with our students in a setting, meeting very often with them, every week at least, where we train students how to conduct methodological research. So we're not just using the tools in our research, but we're actually testing them and developing them, creating new methods. And so we have, as I mentioned, a broad range of research topics that our research will cover. And in this, students will work closely with their advisor to develop a program of research surrounding methodology, and then produce research that goes on to get published in some of the top statistics and methods journals. Our graduates have gone to a range of places, as Martin mentioned. We have about half of our graduates will go into academia, whether it's a teaching position or a tenured track research-based position. And the other half go into industry. There's a lot of money to lure them there right now, but they'll go into Meta. We have people at Twitter, Google, a variety of different locations where they're data scientists working on interesting things within an industry setting. So in the quantitative area, we're very mindful of training students so that they can do either path. We sort of train them to do anything. And then that way they have all of the doors open with respect to what they want to do after they graduate. The application, I will say that it is very important if you're applying to the quantitative area to put a lot of thought into your research statement, the statement about you and what you want to do with your research when you get here. Of course, that would be important no matter what program you're applying to, but one of the things that we look at in particular is that the student has an understanding that they're coming to train on how to develop methods. And so it isn't just about implementing them in applied research, but actually the development of these methods. And so talking through that, even if you don't have prior experience with it, but if it's your interest, talking about that in your statement is an important part of the application. We offer a workshop series annually. This is just a list of workshops that we've given in the past where students can, for free, take a 1 or 2 day, all-day workshop and learn about different statistical topics. So for example, we gave a Bayesian bootcamp workshop where we taught about Bayesian statistics. We cover many different types of analyses and techniques in this series, and any student can apply to be a part of it. And again, it's free of charge. Something also that is not on here that you should know, people who are in the health and developmental area have an opportunity to earn a certificate in quantitative methods. And so this is something that you would earn alongside your PhD by taking courses in statistics. So we give a broad range of statistical training to students, both inside of quantitative and in the other areas as well. And so this is a link. You'll get this website link, I think, in the material later that you can learn more about our program. And of course, you can contact me. I'll put my email address in the chat if you have any direct questions.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, Deb, you want to go ahead and go next?
Sure. Let me share my screen. Ah, where did it go? Rose, do you mind going next? I'm having a hard time finding my slides. I thought I had it already, but I have too many screens open.
Not a problem. Give me just a second here. I can share mine. All right. Does everybody see those slides all right? Okay, perfect. So I won't be able to monitor chat and talk at the same time, but as soon as I am done with my presentation, I'll go back to answering questions for folks if you just want to hold on a moment. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our developmental psychology area here at UC Merced. So developmental psychology is actually a pretty broad area, and our primary goal is to understand how both psychological processes and behavior change across the course of a child's life or up through adulthood. Most of us don't study aging in the latter end of the lifespan, but that is included in developmental psychology as well. And because this is a broad area that touches on so many aspects of a child's life, our research is often relevant to a lot of different kinds of fields, including education, health and treatment, and so on. And the research that we do in our faculty matches up well with sort of the broader focus of some of the things that Martin talked about in his presentation. So we're very interdisciplinary amongst each other and also working with other areas in the department and other departments on campus. And although we do basic scientific research, the findings from our work are broadly applicable to applications in things like education, what have you, and immediate sort of treatments for children and families. At UC Merced, the current size of our faculty, we have 7 faculty, though one of them is dean, so he's not accepting students. And we currently have 16 doctoral students in the program. And we have a theme amongst the faculty in our area that our work focuses broadly on the unique populations in the region around UC Merced. So many of us focus on immigrant families or bilingual families or families from sort of underserved backgrounds, lower income, what have you. And so we work very closely with these sort of underserved populations that are typically left out of a lot of scientific research and try to include them more actively in our work. You can find more details about our research areas on the psychology website, but just to give you a sense of sort of the breadth of the areas that are covered within developmental psychology, we have research focusing on language development in typical and atypical populations, a lot of work focused on parent-child interactions and how that's influenced by things like culture and the local environment. We have a number of researchers that focus on brain development, so neuroscientists in the department. And we look at other aspects as well, such as social and emotional development throughout the lifespan. Just a brief overview of the courses that we offer. There are also additional courses that are not listed here that are offered on a regular basis, but you can see they align well with the different research interests that we have in our area. You'll note that we have 3 faculty on this slide that are highlighted in bold. So these are our 3 faculty that are currently accepting graduate students for fall 2023. Elif, Eric, and Jeff and myself are not currently accepting students, but I just want to emphasize that we're a very collaborative area. So even if you aren't able to apply, say, to work with me or with Eric as your primary advisor, it's likely you would be able to have one of us on your committee and still do collaborative research with the other faculty in the area as well. And so that's all I have. If you have any questions, I already dropped my email into the chat. You can feel free to email me. You can also reach out to Eric Wally, who is our area head, or any of the other faculty who are accepting students. I'm sure they'd be happy to chat with you more as well. All right, Deb, are you all set?
As soon as I unmute myself, yes, I am.
All right.
I am set, I think. Okay, do you guys see this?
We just see your slides. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're having the same problem that I did.
Now you've got the show. You're all good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry about that. Right, so I'm going to tell you about health psychology at UC Merced. For those of you who may be less familiar with it, health psychology, I mean, we really focus on biopsychosocial factors related to, I always tell my health psychology undergrads, you know, we focus on keeping healthy people healthy. We study complex multi-system kinds of factors involved in developing illness and then in managing illness. And we view health psychology research as being really critical to addressing many of today's very complex health challenges. We are very mindful of the location of health, of where we are in the kind of research that we do. The Central Valley of California is a very diverse region of California. It's a mixture of urban and rural populations. It has a large diversity in terms of race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and various kinds of things like this. And we also have high levels of health disparities, and a variety of our faculty are interested in a broad set of issues that is relevant around the world, really, in terms of health psychology. But our region provides unusual opportunities to study some of the most gnarly, complicated health problems that our country and world face. We currently have 9 health psychology faculty members and 23 doctoral students, so we're a pretty sizable group. And if you think about why study health psychology at UC Merced, we are pretty proud of the program we've been able to build. We have really a world-class group of health psychology faculty members. I believe we may be one of the largest, programmatic set of faculty in health psychology compared to almost any program. Most programs have a few health psychologists as part of a, larger set of more traditional areas in psychology. So we're very focused on the most cutting edge issues in health psychology. We're highly collaborative. And also you receive a lot of personal attention, back to what Martin said about being very focused on getting the right match with the mentor in terms of who you're going to be working with, because we work really closely with students. And the other thing is that because we're a new campus, we really do have state-of-the-art facilities. The next new building on campus is scheduled to break ground this year and be finished in 2 years, I think it is. And psychology will be moving into a brand new space where we have been able to personally design our labs. We focus on a lot of areas in health psychology. So we focus on basic behavior change and behavioral interventions, health as well as risk behaviors. A variety of us do different versions of self-regulation, coping, and health, biopsychosocial processes in stress, and so forth. You can see just a variety of areas. So we cover a lot of areas, and even within those areas, there's sort of combinations of things that play out in interesting ways. This is a set of courses that we offer. So the first 2 courses here, health psychology, which is sort of more foundational theory kinds of things in psychology, basic processes, and then issues in health psychology, which is more applied. These are the required courses, but then we have a variety of more specialized kinds of seminars that you can utilize and develop sort of your programmatic areas of interest. And you can see that maps well onto our faculty interests as well. This is our health psychology faculty group. We had a recent picture taken and only one of our faculty members couldn't make it, so I pasted in her separately. But the individuals here in bold are hoping to accept new students for 2023. And just to give you a sense a little bit about their research, I'm going to be planning on taking a student or two. And I focus on social relationships and self-regulation and how families manage chronic diseases. A lot of my focus is on type 1 diabetes, although I study other kinds of diseases as well. I collaborate with developmental psychologists. So I study these issues in children and adolescents and young adults. And I also study this in the context of the kinds of neighborhoods people live in and cultural and like socioeconomic status kinds of factors. Matthew Zawatsky studies all things about stress, and he also is very interested in developing interventions in daily life related to promoting better coping and stress management. Anna Song studies a lot of things related to risk behaviors and policies that affect people's health. She does a lot of community engaged research, works very closely with our communities. She's also the director of our Nicotine and Cannabis Policy Center. Jen Hahn Holbrook studies how biological, psychological, and environmental processes shape maternal and child health. So again, some overlap with developmental psychology. Whoops, sorry about that. And she teaches our biological psychology classes. Others are have expertise in that area as well, but that's sort of a special focus of Jen's work. And then finally, Jenny Howell focuses really directly on the intersection between social psychology and health. And she's really interested in how processes surrounding individuals like self-identity threat and defensiveness, as well as more social processes like social comparison, prejudice, stereotyping kinds of things, influence health and decision-making. And if you have questions, there is some contact information, but we're also, of course, happy to answer questions that you have here.
All right, thank you everyone for those presentations. So we have about 25 minutes and basically now it's just Q&A. So we're happy to answer any questions that you have. You can either type them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions that way as well. So I'm going to defer to Jess on this because she's our admissions expert on the call. So can you speak to this question about language proficiency, Jess?
Yes, I'm just taking a second look at it really quick. So the way that we can waive the English language requirement test, so at UC Merced, that would be either the IELTS test or the TOEFL test for international students, is if you have received an advanced degree from an English-speaking university, or not an English-speaking university, a university where English was the primary mode of instruction. Or if you are an international student where English is the primary language in your country. So I know this year we've been getting a lot of applicants from like Ghana and Nigeria. And so for our students from those countries, we actually would waive it automatically since English is the national language. So I hope that answers your question. And then if you have received an advanced degree from a university where English was the primary mode of instruction, the way that we can waive that is you would get in touch with our grad admissions team. And they would need to confirm that you've received that degree and that English was actually the language of instruction at that institution. Thanks.
Thank you, Jess. So Betsy has a question on writing a personal statement. Does anyone want to sort of offer tips on what you look for in a personal statement from a student?
Yes, there's some advice online. I just put a link in the chat. If you look on the UC Merced graduate student or graduate division website, you'll see sort of about halfway down, there's a before you apply section, and that provides writing your statement of purpose, some information on that.
Yeah, I can add to that. I just, when I look at these statements, I like to see that the student is really thinking about the field, even if it's sort of loose thinking, but just that they have an understanding of what the field is and have looked at the websites for the various faculty members in that area. I think that it's advantageous if you reach out to somebody ahead of time, but it's not necessary, and a faculty member, I mean. But when you write this statement, I think making sure that your interest shines through why you're interested in the field, and also being open to who you work with. If there's just one person that you have to work with, then that's okay. But also if there are other people that would work, maybe talk about that too, because it shows that there's potential flexibility. And then when the committee meets to talk, I think that they can have a more productive talk about your application.
Yes, so a couple of questions about like strengthening applications, and it is fine to mention multiple research interests. It's not uncommon for people to have multiple research interests at this stage. I would say that if your two interests are incredibly different from one another, that might be hard for us to interpret, right? Like two things that are like really far apart. So you might want to make sure to clearly explain why you're interested in those two things and how you see them working together. But yeah, it's fine to list multiple research interests.
Yeah, and I'll also jump in because there have been some queries on what I look for, and it's very much what has already been stated. I mean, what I am looking for is somebody who is really thoughtful and mindful about what they want to be able to do and why it's important for them to pursue a degree like this. And I'm also really interested in understanding what you really want, you know, like why are you interested in working in my lab? I mean, we work really closely together, and I view my goal with my graduate students is for them to become my colleagues and collaborators by the time we're done. And so I take it really seriously, and I view mentoring as one of the most important things that I do. And I try to meet students kind of where they are, because some students come in with quite varied levels of experience. But I think all of us really want and hope for sort of the real, you know, you are bringing something that's really unique and important to our program. It's not just that we are, and our job is to help you meet your potential. And so I think anything that explains that and describes that is what we're really hoping for. And hopefully that doesn't sound too overwhelming. It really is just tell us what you're really interested in, why this is important to you.
Betsy, the three faculty that will be accepting in developmental are Alex Main, Heather Bortfeld, and Myra Bamaka.
So a question here about are the applications for research and teaching assistantships separate from the application for the program? No. So effectively you apply to the program, and once you're admitted to the program, then you will either be provided with opportunities for a teaching assistantship, and if it's available, a graduate student researcher position. And usually it's the teaching assistantship, but there are increasing occasions and opportunities for graduate student researcher positions, which is usually funded through a grant that your faculty advisor will hold, and you'll be contributing to the research on that particular project. So no, we will assign you to your teaching assistantship once you're admitted to the program and you've accepted and you're attending the university. And those opportunities will come to light, and you will have the opportunity actually to kind of, to some extent, select within the limitations of our program to select the courses that you're able to teach. And you'll have opportunities to teach a variety of different courses over your tenure as a graduate student here at UC Merced.
Any other questions that folks have?
Hi, can I ask you hi for the information? And I was wondering if I have a new research project, if I have a research idea, is it possible to pursue it there, or we should work on the project that you offer us from the beginning? Can you hear me?
Yes, I think that it probably depends on the research topic. So I know for me, I love when my students come to me with ideas. And as long as it's something that I can help supervise that fits within the umbrella of my research, then I'm all open to it. However, if it's something that I just can't directly supervise, it would be difficult for me to act as an advisor on a project that I don't know much about. So I don't know if that makes sense, but in that case, it may be worthwhile looking for if there's a co-mentor opportunity or something like that that could help facilitate. But I mean, we love research and we love new ideas. And so we're always open to hearing students and their ideas that they have.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Question in this chat about what does the interview look like? I think there is a sort of bespoke approach in the different areas. My understanding is that the quantitative psychology area formally interviews all candidates, whereas in the health and developmental area, that is really kind of dependent on the particular advisor. One of the things I will say is there is a general expectation that you will have made contact with an advisor. That's not always necessary, but we strongly encourage you to do that. It's far easier for us to kind of make an evaluation as to a person's contribution, potential contribution and fit with the advisor, with the lab, with the program, if we've had an opportunity to talk to you. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a formal interview. And of course, nowadays, we're all very familiar with Zoom and Teams and these kinds of video conferencing software. So it makes it very easy for us to have an interview with you. So please do reach out to your advisor, potential advisors, and that maybe seek out an opportunity to contact them.
Ivan, you have a question. You want to go ahead?
Yes. Good morning, all. I really appreciate the time you've all taken to give this webinar or workshop. I'd like to know, for the statement of purpose, although there may be faculty who aren't accepting students, is it still important to identify them in the statement of purpose with regard to an alignment with research interests?
So I think the most important thing is that you identify at least one faculty member who is accepting students, right? It's also okay if you feel like there are possibilities for collaboration with another faculty member to list them, even if they aren't accepting students right now, because every student has a faculty advisory committee that has 3 faculty members on it. And so that will be possible for you to have collaborations with those other individuals, but make sure you list at least one person who is accepting students in your statement of purpose.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, Sarah jumped in before I did just now. There's a question by Giselle in the chat. Is it too late to reach out to an advisor? Definitely not. So please do, and now's the time. So yeah, look at the people who you might work with and whose interest may mesh with yours. Reach out, and it may be a little slow because it's a busy time, and if you don't get a response, they're not gonna hate you if you just send them a gentle reminder. You get a lot of email. The traffic is pretty intense. So yeah, we appreciate the reminders. But yeah, now it's the time to reach out.
Sandy, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm a working mom, and I wanted to see if there was a part-time option for the PhD program.
I was waiting to see whether Rose was going to jump in. I think that's possible, but on the whole, most students go with a full-time option. That is something I think to explore with the graduate division. Jess, do you have any further information on that?
Sorry, I was reading the chat about part-time. The question about part-time, right? So it's my understanding that every program is actually full-time unless it's something that can be worked out within the program. But I would say as a PhD student, if you are receiving funding, the expectation is that you're being paid because you are technically a full-time employee of the university. So you're being paid to do research or being paid to do a TA-ship. Being in your classes is also part of that. So to my knowledge, we don't have anybody part-time.
Thanks, Jess, I stand corrected.
I will add, though, we do have many students and have had many students who are parents. I have one right now. And so you cannot, although you can't technically be listed as a part-time student, there's a lot of degrees of freedom in terms of how your work is distributed. And that's something that you can discuss with potential advisors. So for instance, I work closely with my student to distribute her work hours and our meetings to accommodate her need to be with her child certain hours and obviously spend a certain amount of time with them. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility just because you can't technically be listed as part-time, because there is a lot of flexibility in your schedule. There also is a lot of resources on campus to support students who are parents. You can find a lot of details about that on the Graduate Division website. So for instance, we have an on-campus daycare. There's various kinds of family support that is available. So I encourage you to check that out as well.
And I'll jump in really quick and say, and I think it's in about 2 weeks, my department, the Graduate Division, and our Assistant Dean will be hosting a webinar on diversity among graduate students. So that looks a little bit different for grad students, right? Some of you might be parents and starting families, and during that session, we'll actually be talking more about that. So if you wanted to join us for that session and come with your questions, or you can send them to me ahead of time and we could be prepared to answer them too. That would be a great place to connect on topics regarding having a family in graduate school. I'll drop the link into the chat.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Jess. That's really, really good information.
All right, any other questions we can answer for everyone? Sorry, Cynthia, what was your question? Do you want to go ahead and ask that again?
Yeah, so my question was, I don't know if you guys would know this, but do you think that clinical psychology would be offered at UC Merced in the future?
Oh yeah, no, we don't currently have a clinical area and we don't have plans to add one anytime soon.
I will jump in there really quickly. So a couple of us are trained as clinical psychologists, and I'm one of them. And there have been, like, when we think about how our department grows, there have been discussions of potentially considering more applied kinds of research, community engaged research, and various kinds of things like this. Personally, I think it would be great in a long-term plan for us to have a clinical psychology training program. So I think there are faculty who are knowledgeable about that and interested in application. We have a lot of people who do intervention kinds of research, for example, but certainly in the context of anybody applying for a program, that's a very long-term agenda, and it wouldn't be available.
Chelsea, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Hi, yes, thank you for the presentation. I had two questions. One, is there a minimum number of psychology units required to apply for those of different degree backgrounds? And the second question is, how many publications do successful applicants generally have? Thank you.
Those are great questions. So at least in quantitative, we don't require any psychology background at all. I don't know about the developmental and health areas, but we're really just looking for people who have zest for research and a solid academic background that has set them up for success in the PhD program, sort of regardless of what that background is, maybe within reason. Regarding number of publications, I mean, it depends on the type of research that you're doing. And so some research is very intense with respect to data collection. It may take years to collect data. And so you might have your first few years with no publications, and then all of a sudden you can crank out a bunch at the end. Others, the labs work quite different, and you might start publishing right away. And so it depends on field, and then within field, who you're working with because of the type of problems that they're doing. So for me, not unreasonable for a person to come out maybe with half a dozen or so quantitative publications. Depends on exactly what they're working on though.
Was your question about when you apply, Chelsea, or when you're done?
Either or both. So it sounds like
I talked about when you are done.
Yeah,
okay.
I just didn't want her to be frightened by that number.
Oh, sorry.
None of us,
No,
I don't think any of us require any.
Oh.
Yeah, when you apply, if you have them, awesome, describe them. If you've done research experience that hasn't led to a publication, that's pretty normal for people who are applying. So just describe the experience. It isn't a requirement, I would say, to have any publications.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's quite a lot of flexibility in the kinds of things that we look for in applicants. And I think Sarah summarized it really well. We want to see people who are able to demonstrate an appetite and an aptitude for research. And so that can be demonstrated in a number of different ways. Furthermore, there may be disciplines that might inform research in psychology that are not necessarily named psychology. And so if you have training in certain social science areas, for example, you may be in behavioral medicine, for example, allied disciplines to health psychology, my area, Weeby's area, then we would definitely consider your application. So there's some flexibility there. Sorry, I think, Debbie, you had something to add.
You said everything I was thinking of saying. Well done.
Great minds, etc.
Someone asked about numbers. I see Jess dropped a really helpful dashboard into the chat. We also don't have a fixed numbers that we plan to accept per area. We have a total number for the entire program, and it just sort of depends on the nature of the applicants, how many of them are in any given area. So I can't give you an exact number. If you're like worried, will you be able to get in developmental or health? I can't give you those exact numbers, but just did give sort of an overall historical averages of acceptance in that dashboard that she linked. All right, we have just a few more minutes here. Does anyone have any other questions? I see there's a question here specifically for Jess, so I'll let her handle that. But does anyone else have any questions that we haven't answered yet?
How many students and quants?
Yeah, I'm just adding, we're not very good with numbers. No, I'm kidding. I think we have about 9 current students. We try to keep student to faculty ratio really low because the type of projects that we work on, they're not really, we do collaborate, but they're not really group projects where you would have 5 PhD students on one paper. It really is your paper that you work on with your advisors. So we keep our program pretty small.
I know we're coming up on time, but I wanted to ask a question about fit and how to sort of weave your own research interests into the fit with the advisor that you're looking to work with, and if you have any tips on how to kind of balance those two things.
I'm going to try to answer this question in the chat. So if somebody else is able to tackle Chelsea's question.
Well, I guess a question I have when you ask that, are you asking more about how you do that and convey that in the application process, or are you asking about how do you do that when you're a student?
I'm asking more about the application process and how, you know, can you have 50% novel ideas of things that you know are interested in sort of adding on to, you know, the fit with your mentor's research, or should you really spend the majority of the statement of purpose sort of covering the overlap in your research?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't think there's a real right and wrong answer in terms of a right or wrong way to do it. I think what's you know, what is important is feeling like when you come here, you can do, there's a natural collaboration that's going on. It's not stretched. It's not, you know, you come here and you get to do what you want to do at the same time that you're fitting in with the, you know, program of research that your mentor has. And so I think that's the most important thing. And then being able to identify those unique things that you bring, I think is very exciting to us. You know, we know where we're going, but honestly, some of my most exciting new research adventures have been in being responsive to things that my students said, I really want to do this, and I hadn't thought about it. So I think that's really great. But the foundation is there has to be a match. And so demonstrating that match is important.
Okay, I see we are at time. So just really quick, I want to say that Jess has been recording this. And so if you're having any issues with connectivity or hearing, what have you, we will be able to share this recording with you. And Jess can also share a copy of the presentations that we made today. If you have any additional questions that you weren't able to get answered, feel free to email any of us. We're happy to help you with that or direct you to the right place if we aren't able to answer the question for you. So again, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this today, and we look forward to seeing all of your applications.